Hello and welcome to Paths. I am your host today, J.L. Benjamin, and I'm here with a special guest, Leno Bradby, coordinator at Tyler Perry Studios. Oh my gosh, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here, glad to share, glad to, hope inspire the next generation. And, thanks for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, are you ready to jump?
Yeah, let's jump.
Okay, you're not in position.
Hey, let's go.
Okay, I'm just kidding. We're just gonna jump right into it. We want to learn a little bit more about your path that you took that brought you here to where you are today. So, curious, what's the beginning? Where are you from? How did you get into this field?
Yeah, so, I'm from Charles City, Virginia. It's between Richmond and Williamsburg, Virginia. And I kind of grew up writing all type of Christian plays for my church and, having the youth ministry. We'd act them out for Christmas, Easter, things like that. And it's actually funny. I didn't want to go into film and TV. I actually wanted to be a psychologist and a lawyer at one point. Then I realized it was just better for me to write a character that's a lawyer and a psychologist and play those characters against each other. And in 10th grade, I took a screenwriting course in high school, and I fell in love with it. And so that's what kind of sparked my interest to be in film and TV.
So what was your favorite play that you wrote or script that you produced when you were either at the church or as a youth?
My favorite script I ever wrote probably was called Christmas Expectations, and it mirrored two couples who two of them worked at a mailroom and the other two were the executives of the company, but both of them was going through relationship issues with each other. One was very greedy, the other one was very the Lord will make a way type thing. And so I liked how those characters mirrored each other, and I wrote that in 8th grade.
In 8th grade?
Yeah.
8th grade. So if you are a PATH student right now and you're watching this, 8th grade, you can start today.
Yeah.
You're sitting at home chilling, not doing, I don't know what you're doing, but you could be doing this. Right. What? So when is that one gonna be on TV? Tomorrow?
Well, I kind of threw it away. It's still in my back pocket, but I haven't really touched it since 8th grade. But now that I look back over it, I probably should pick it up because I know I probably can elevate the script to a whole nother level right now, especially just growing creatively and just seeing the world from an adult perspective versus a 13-year-old,
Yeah.
So.
Major key. You still have it with you.
Yeah.
Some of your writings that you did when you were, a youth or a young kid.
Yeah.
And you brought them with you today. What's the importance? What's the value there?
I think the value in just creative writing is like an outlet. You can kind of escape reality and kind of create your own world and create your own conflicts and your own resolutions, and it kind of helps you just deal with things a lot better. I knew I wanted to be a psychologist, so instead of going the psychology route, I just became a life coach, after I started studying some of the greats. One of my all-time favorite mentors is Devon Franklin. And he's a life coach, a pastor, an author, a producer, one of the youngest producers at Sony. And I always admired him because of his career path and the type of movies he did, from Karate Kid to Pursuit of Happiness. So yeah, he's kind of my inspiration in that aspect.
What's one thing that you try to maintain in all of your writings, whether it's a value add or it's some kind of lesson that you always want the viewers to see?
In all my writing, I try to take serious situations and add humor to them.
Gotcha.
Because I feel a lot of times we're all going through the same things, but we kind of need humor to kind of break the ice with a lot of stuff, or to show you that it's not that deep, it's not that serious, whether it's holding a grudge or just, being envious of someone. We all go through things just, privately and separately. So I think humor brings everybody together. I think humor is a universal language across the board that no matter where you're from, you can always laugh at your pain. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a joke? Well, one, have you ever done open mic comedy?
I haven't.
Okay. Then two.
People tell me I should, but it's never been my thing.
So I'm writing humor and it actually being funny on screen, that's a gift and talent in itself.
Right.
Have you ever wrote a joke and it just did hit?
It's funny when you're writing jokes. Sometimes in your head it makes sense, but like you have to really step away from it, come back to it, or let somebody else read it, and it doesn't quite land the same way. Yeah. Like I notice sometimes I have to record myself because sometimes I say things that's funny and I'm not even trying to be funny. But I think a lot of times what makes people funny is they take those real scenarios and they don't try to be funny, but it's like they just react in a funny way. And then they tell the story like, this is what happened to me today. And so I think because everyone is looking for truth or everyone is looking for like realism in every aspect of life, I think that's what, makes everything funny, or just trying to find humor in everything, trying to find the silver lining. Because you can find humor in anything, even at a funeral. Yeah. It's always something, especially like, with Black people, how we act at funerals. It doesn't matter where you are. You have someone that's like, you have the over-exaggerated person, the one who's all about the money, and, just you bring all these people together. Because in your family, you got people that's, that might be upper echelon. You got some people that's kind of ghetto, and you put them all together, and it's like you try to mesh them so they can all grieve the same way, and they don't. Because you got some people that's gonna find funny out of everything and don't take stuff seriously, which is also can be a trauma, which is a whole nother level of how to deal with stuff. But yeah.
So in humor or writing jokes, how do you or even just writing period, writing film, how do you set the environment or the space to be inspired?
I know for me to be inspired, I like to be around water. I like to kind of be around nature and just so if I'm at home, I try to have water sounds, or I open this slide door and let the breeze come in, because I have to feel like I'm one with whatever God is trying to tell me, or whatever message I'm trying to get across. And I just think about life scenarios, like everyday conversations that people have. Sometimes even when I go out to eat and I see people at a table, I try to figure out what they're talking about, just based on the expressions of the conversation. Then I try to figure out how to make it funny. So I use that a lot.
Oh man! Yeah. So you might write a film about past? Is that what I'm hearing?
I mean, possibly, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love
possibly,
it. Starring Christian Robinson. small credit jail. I see it. I see it in the future for.
I mean, anything's possible,
So how did you go from being a writer to a coordinator, or how are you doing both?
Well, right now I'm the manager of physical production at the studio, so I kind of oversee all of his physical productions, from the plays, the shows, the movies. So when I went to Clark Atlanta University, I started writing more. I started interning with BET. So I did a lot of BET shows before I came to TPS in 2013. Then I left in 2013. I left in 2016 to do reality shows like Housewives, Married to Medicine. And so I started writing for those shows as an associate producer. So when I came back, I jumped more in an executive role because I had just got my master's in entertainment business at Full Sail. So I was trying to learn the business to the point, because I want to own my own studio one day. It's funny, I created a LLC in 2014. I renew it every year, even though I don't have the building, but I renew it every year just so I can keep the name.
Yeah.
And so this past year, Mr. Perry decided he wanted to have a writer's room. And so he opened up a writer's room for House of Pain, and that's when I was able to write a show, episode that's actually premiere in the fall, of an episode that I wrote for the show, and I was the youngest writer. So I'm excited to see where that goes, in the next upcoming seasons of it. But yeah. So you heard it first, because I can't even promote it until Memorial Day.
We heard it first. Yeah.
Exclusive. So I'm excited about that, and just looking forward to keep writing.
Oh my goodness. So you said a few things there. I kind of want to just tap into them. When you were at Clark, you were already, working in your passion, working in your calling and writing.
Yeah, I was interning.
You were interning. What's the importance and value of being, an intern prior to?
I think the most important thing about being an intern is just being ready and available. Internships teaches you things that you just wouldn't know by a textbook. I'll never forget the first day of my internship, I was a set PA. Yeah. And I had never PA'd before, and I showed up to work in a business suit and a trench coat and a briefcase. And the AD was like, "Where you going?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm here for work." And she was like, "As a set PA?" And I thought, And she was like, yeah, go take that off. And like gave me some shoes from wardrobe. Like, she's like, you're going to be on your feet all day. And so it was just like those like life lessons. Yeah. That's like, okay, this is reality. This ain't a glamorous job. This is a very, get up and go. A lot of times the PAs, they get the burnt work, They kind of like considered low, low on the totem pole because I have stories of how many times we as PAs would talk too crazy, but that was just across the board. It wasn't like one specific production company. So you definitely learn what it's like to be a PA. So when you get in those positions, you kind of know how they feel. So I try to take a different approach when I'm talking to PAs now. I kind of mentor them and try to build them up and let them know that, that your job is important. Like you get that coffee for that director or that actor, changes the whole scope of the whole shoot, Yeah. So I think a lot of times when I was a PA, we were doing things, but we didn't understand the why or why we did things. We were just like, go get this, go get that. And so you feel like almost like a slave because like you're not getting paid and you're getting college credit for it. And so you're spending 8 to 12 hours a day just doing this burnt work, but you don't understand the why. And so I think that motivates people and, just gives people a different perspective when you explain to them, like, this is why you do this thing. And then, you just talk about the progression of promotion.
So, wow, so you try to change how you engage with production assistants on set. And you're intentional about it, right? Yeah, so as with production assistants, a lot of times back then we didn't get the respect that I think we should, deserve. But that's because they didn't explain the why we do certain things. Now I try to be intentional and explain the purpose and the why behind it because that gives them motivation and fuel to say, okay, I might be doing this for a moment, but everything I'm doing is important to the production, like the coffee. It gets the actors, it gets the directors ready, the scripts being copied, being delivered, all those things, getting the food on time. So I think we have to start telling people the why so they can strive for something. Yeah. Especially when they're on set. And so then you talked about from intern, you're already working and operating in your passion, right down the path of where you're about to go. And then you go to California? Is that what I heard you say? Yeah. What happened there? So that's a whole coastal change. So I went to California to do the BET Awards each year. And so when I started, so when I started interning at The Game and Let's Stay Together on BET, that's when I started meeting other people from BET Networks. And so they liked my work ethic, so they asked me to come to BET Awards, and I used to do a lot of the audience coordinating for the experience and the seat filling, getting those together for the people that be in the mosh pit, working with all those things. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know there's somebody at home who's seat filling. That's a role. So every year at the BET Awards, if you notice in the center stage, the mosh pit, it's the circle of people that's just throwing up their hands and just getting crunk with the music and everything. Those are seat fillers. So basically, seat fillers are people where basically an audience company will send out a notice saying, hey, this award show is coming up. Do you want a free ticket? And if you want a free ticket, this is what you have to do. You have to participate. So they will put maybe 200 seat fillers in that mosh pit. And then you have other seat fillers in the audience. So if Nicki Minaj and her camp got up to get an award, when the cameras pan around, you can't show empty seats. So you have seat fillers to fill those seats while the people are getting up, performing, getting their awards. But when they come back to the seats, you have to get up and then they put you somewhere else. But the main thing is not to have a seat shown empty, especially in the front row. Yep. And that's one of the things of someone who's doing coordination. Yeah, for audience coordinating, that's called seat fillers. Yeah. So Leno, what does the day-to-day look like for you? So a day-to-day for me, it kind of changes based on the production, but I'm usually the one that's doing the union startups. So I'm contacting SAG, which is the union for actors. I'm contacting the DGA, the union for directors, UPMs and ADs, or IATSE, which is grips, electrics, hair, makeup, and I have to contact them to tell them, hey, we have a show coming up. This is the budget for the show. We need some agreements. Because we can't shoot anything unless we have those agreements, those Teams' agreements signed. So I have to give them the budget, shoot dates, and a lot of paperwork that goes along with it. Usually
when we get series regulars announced, I have to, get that contract signed. I have to read the scripts to see if they have any nudity. They got to sign nudity waivers. I'm doing cast deal points to make sure, okay, they get per diem, they get relocation checks, like make sure they get all of their stuff in those contracts. What's their on-screen credit look like? I'm contacting networks. Networks call me and say, hey, so BET will call me and say, hey, we need the final cast list. We need that contract. So I'm submitting the credits to the network. So when you see the on-screen credits at the end, I'm submitting those so they can run them at the end. So I'm having to double check those against
names,
the PRs,
everything.
Make sure the names are spelled right, because a lot of people be having those guest star names. So you got to make sure don't use their legal name, but use what their bill name is. And so it's a lot that goes into it. I'm dealing with posts, make sure we get music cue sheets. I'm also doing the license agreements for the show, so the music license. So for each episode, seeing, okay, who do we have to pay? Who's the composer? Who's the supervisor? So it's a lot on a day-to-day.
So what are the different types of roles that you've kind of wore, or hats that you've worn as a coordinator? I've
been a production coordinator. I've been an associate producer. I've been a production secretary, of course, a PA. I've been an extras casting assistant. I've been a regular casting assistant. I've done so much. I've been like a studio coordinator. I've been a production manager.
Okay, so top one most challenging hat that you've worn, and then what's another role that you've done where you feel like you grew the most, like it showed you the most skill sets?
I would say the position I'm in now as manager of production is where I've grown the most as far as skill set, because I'm handling so many things as it relates to network, legal, just dealing with the talent, things like that. I would say my most challenging role probably was when I was an associate producer to Housewives of Atlanta and Married to Medicine, because you're dealing with real people, real lives, there's no script. But what you have to do is you have to, you take things that are happening in real life and you kind of play on that. And then it's almost like you have to instigate somebody's storyline through another character. So that's why when they're at a dinner or something, everyone is mic'd, and you have each person has their own producer. And so a producer might be in the ear saying, ask her about her tax stuff. And so you ask her about her tax stuff, she gonna get mad, why are you in my business? And then the person who asks, she feels like she has to defend herself on camera because you're not about to punk on camera. She's like, I asked because I asked, And that's why all the conflicts start, just like that.
Oh, wow.
So some people think reality is fake. It's not really fake. It's you just taking what's happening in real life and you're instigating it. So it'd be real stuff that's going on in their lives. And yeah, because when you think about reality shows are shot 5 to 6 months at a time.
Yeah. So
out of those 5 to 6 months, you can get a good 15 to 20 episodes. But think about it, it's hours of footage that you can't even use because it's boring. So a lot of people think it's you only film good stuff. No, we film a lot, and we just edit and cut the stuff to make the story work.
Yeah.
So that's why people think it's scripted, but it's not.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And so someone who's at home right now or at work on break watching Paths right now, what's one piece of advice you would give them if they're looking to break into being a coordinator?
Advice that I would give is to intern. Even if it's not paid, just intern. I've had people, as a coordinator, I had people just to pull up to the production office saying, hey, I saw this is where the production office is, here's my resume, just in case y'all looking for somebody. And I've hired people like that before. Just don't be afraid to reach out to people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a networking app. I think you have to be 18 to join LinkedIn, because I was talking to a high school group and they said that was one of their issues. You got to be 18 to join LinkedIn. But it's just an avenue of being able to reach out to so many people when you type in a specific company or a network. But I would say, just create. We have so many avenues right now to create your own stuff.
Yeah.
Your iPhone, just create. Get people together, get your actor friends together, and just start creating your own stuff. Upload it to YouTube, and just go from there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And this is perfect, because this is practical steps that viewers can literally do if they're looking to become a coordinator.
And it's not hard. It's hard. We're always looking for people to like step up. It's crazy. It's actually not a lot of production coordinators, especially in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
I've found myself having to train people up from PAs or from the reality world to be coordinators because there's just so many productions going on. I think it's like 62 productions going on in Atlanta, in the state of Georgia right now.
What?
Yeah.
So if you're watching this and you heard Lena talk about this particular niche that's here in Atlanta, please tap in. Sounds like 62 opportunities that you potentially or possibly could get connected with.
It used to be a time where it feels like everybody was like in a crab pot and everybody was like trying to push each other down, but there has really been a drought for production coordinators and travel coordinators in this state.
You said travel
coordinators?
Travel, okay.
Yeah. So.
Even despite the pandemic?
Yeah, because productions in Georgia have revved up. I know at the studio now, Marvel has 10 of our 12 sound stages for like 14 months.
Oh my goodness.
You know, we film Family Feud over there, Wild and Out. So, yeah.
Who are the major influences that you're really following right now in terms of coordinators? So like maybe someone who you admire and that you're interested in teaming up with.
Probably, you mean like celebrity?
Oh.
Or just...
Hey, it could be anyone.
Oh, well, I would say Devon Franklin is definitely one of those people I want to team up with.
Okay.
And Steve Harvey. I think Steve Harvey has really grasped this entertainment industry. Like, he has really tapped into like 11 avenues of entertainment, from author to producer, comedian, talk show host, radio show host, Family Feud, Kids Say the Darndest Things. He had his own award show, the Neighborhood Awards. He has his own Father's Day weekend in Disney World, has his own clothing line. Like, that man has really tapped into everything. I don't think he gets enough credit sometimes, but he has done a lot.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like, so if someone is looking to particularly maybe even engage with you, how are you opening doors for people who are coming into this space behind you? I know you spoke about the way in which you treat your PAs, but you're looking to train other people up. Is there like a nonprofit that you may particularly run, or a workshop, or a place where people can actually go and engage, whether it's with you or just learning some of those same skills? Yeah,
so once I got back, I started an internship at the studio.
Okay.
But of course, it's been on pause since the pandemic. And so we don't really have a return date right now, but I assume it'll probably be the top of the year.
Yeah.
But during the internship program, we've had about 8 students to come, and some of them were offered, freelance jobs right after the internship. Because our internship program is usually 4 weeks.
Okay.
And we try to put you in different departments to kind of see which area you like to fit in. So we had people think, I had like one girl come in and she wanted to be in art, but by the time she was done, she wanted to be a locations manager. Yeah. So I feel like the internships allows you to, partake in each little department and really see what the job is about. Because from the outside looking in, you may think, oh, this is what that person does, and you realize that's not what they do at all. So I think it's all about teaching, but I know for me, when all the PAs come or all the interns, I have a meeting with them, and we go over like, okay, what's your goals? How can we evaluate? We do evaluations in the beginning and at the end of the internship. Yeah. And so
you talked a lot about being an intern and the importance and value, skills that you build while interning. Where would you send our viewers if they wanted to intern for a show?
Gotcha, yeah. As far as internships, I know in Georgia, I know Turner Broadcasting always lists their internships on their website. Okay. So if you go to Turner Broadcasting Jobs, it lists all the internships from Cartoon Network to Adult Swim. The Georgia Film Help Wanted Hotline, that you can Google that has a list of internships as well. When our internship program returns, it's going to be on the Tyler Perry Studios homepage.
Oh my God, that was 3.
Yeah.
Any more? I'm joking.
That's all I can think about. That's all I can think about. But
is there a particular place that they could apply if they're literally like brand spanking new? Like, because some of these internships, I would assume they're expecting a little more experience, or no?
Well, not really, because when I started my internship, I was just a college student who just so happened to be in film and TV production. So they gave me a chance just based off that. Because a lot of times when it's an entry-level position, you really don't need experience because they teach you, they train you, So I know at least for film and TV, you don't really need no experience to be a set PA or office PA. Yeah.
So when you engage with the interns or whatnot, even for you, what was that moment where you knew, hey, the interning period for me is coming to an end, or I kind of really want to fully focus on what I'm trying to produce and write? What was that moment? Because usually when you get a good intern, you do not want to like let the intern go.
See, fortunately, in my position, I interned, and before I could even think about my next steps, they offered me a job. So it was like, I see you as an intern, but now I want to give you a job. Have you ever thought about being an office PA? Have you thought about being a production secretary? So everyone along the way kind of like promoted me before I thought I was ready to be promoted. In every facet of my life, I was always promoted before I asked to be.
Oh, wow, and you said yes.
Yeah, I always say yes. I was always nervous, but I'm like, scared money don't make money, so I gotta jump. So I'm like, okay.
Scared money doesn't make no money. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So if you could give one quote to the viewers watching right now, what would it be?
I would say you first have to believe in yourself before anybody else can. Mm-hmm. Because by them promoting me before I thought I was ready, it means that they saw something in me before I saw it in myself.
Wow.
So I think a lot of times, just as humans, we try to get confirmation. Like, when you talk to your friend and you're like, is it me? Am I tripping? Yeah. And I feel like we gotta stop seeking validation for how we feel. We just have to live in the moment and feel what we feel, because we're human, and we have to own our feelings, and we have to own like who we are. So.
Yeah, fully. Flaws and all.
Flaws and all.
So what is the inspiration behind Fresh Territory then?
So Fresh Territory is actually changing a little bit.
Okay. So is this another scoop? Are we getting another exclusive scoop?
Yeah, kind of. So
another exclusive right here on Paths?
So Fresh Territory, I always knew I wanted to do, A Different World was always my favorite show growing up. Mm-hmm. And Drumline and Stump the Yard was kind of like one of my decisions of why I came to Clark. Because I knew that was the only HBCU in Atlanta that focused on film and television production. And so, for me, I always wanted to do an HBCU show. I'm like, why has there not been any HBCU show since A Different World? Like, you've had HBCU movies. Yeah. And so I had created Fresh Territory back in 2015. And that's before Grownish, that's before The Quad, all of that. I did the script. I had met with Rob Hardy. I had met with Jasmine Guy. So when I saw them on The Quad, I was just like, it was one of those moments like, okay, because I'll never forget, I had a whole conversation with Rob Hardy at the Merge Summit. So it was like one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe God is trying to tell me something with this show. Maybe I need to shift my focus, because I'm happy that all these HBCU shows are now coming up. But it's like, it seems like, why at the moment that I'm trying to do it, out of 15 years of it not being in HBCU shows, now it's like HBCU shows are hot. So it was like one of those things I had to realize, it's room for everybody's ideas. You can have 20 different Law and Orders, Criminal Minds, and it all be the same thing. You can have Grey's Anatomy, you can have Amsterdam, you can have all these, The Resident, you can have all these medical shows. So why can't it be multiple HBCU shows? Yeah. So when I created an HBCU show, the pilot, and it's funny because a lot of the people, like a lot of the series regulars that was in my pilot are now doing big things, like Terrell or Brittany Inge or Taylor Pardo or Jeffrey Meyer, Simeon, like all those was in my pilot. So it was like, it's good to see them elevate now to the big screen and doing network TV. Yeah. But now I think Fresh Territory has shifted for me, because I chose the name because you're a freshman. It's new, it's fresh territory, it's a start of something new. But now I'm trying to shift it to a reality show I'm working on now that focuses on life coaching for celebrity kids. So we just filmed, I just did some auditions for some celebrity kids. And so now we're in the works with that to see like how we can take that to the next level. So. Oh my goodness. So I'm like, to me, that's fresh territory, because a lot of these celebrity kids are still in the shadows of their parents. You really don't know who they are besides, oh, that's Jadakiss' son. Oh, that's Stevie J's daughter. But it's like, who are you outside of your parents' shadows? So I think that to me is what fresh territory we're now focused on. It's their new territory. Yeah.
You touched on a few things, right? Like having that peer group or peer circle and starting out with the group of entertainers that want to be in that industry, and then, everyone kind of sparking off and going into their own lane.
Yeah, because we used to have
same industry.
Yeah, we used to have like group texts and all. Like I remember it would be like me, Terrell, Taylor, Jeff Meyer, and we were always like, yeah, maybe I should like do something else. It's not, it's not coming. Maybe it's not the industry for me. We used to have like prayer circles together. So it's so interesting to see like now this year, everyone is just flourishing, which is a great thing, you know, and going to the next level. And that was back in 2016. So look, 4 or 5 years later, now everyone's world has changed.
In a few years.
Yeah.
And still being successful and moving things up despite a global pandemic.
Like for me, the pandemic kind of blessed me.
Okay.
I was able to write more. Like I didn't have any bad things to happen. I was actually elevated during this pandemic, during this time off, I was blessed that we kept working at the studio, even though I was working remote. So, it gave me a chance to kind of like put my creativeness on the front burner for once and trying to jump back into it. Because I had kind of like pushed it off to the side because I was trying to focus on everybody else's production. But I kind of like, okay, they paying me to focus on their production, but I'm like, I need to focus more on my stuff. So it kind of like rejuvenated me a little bit. Yeah.
And you're actually very unique, like your background in terms of you continue to advance your education. A lot of people, will go into entertainment and just, not go to school or not get their master's or whatnot, which is perfectly fine. Everyone has their own path. But why did you make sure that you went to school and advanced your education?
Well, for me, when I went to Clark, Atlanta, those internships I wouldn't have got had I not been enrolled in school. So I feel like the education was the stepping stone. Like you said, everyone's path is different because a lot of people in the industry don't have college degrees. But I know for me, that was my gateway into this industry because it was those internships. Because they wouldn't even look at me had I not been a college student. So now when I graduated, I got my bachelor's degree. And then I was like, I knew I wanted to run stuff one day. I want to have my own studio. So I did entertainment business at Full Sail. And I was doing an online program while I was production secretary on Haves and Have-Nots. And so I remember being in the office till like midnight, 1 o'clock by myself, trying to finish, schoolwork. The halls are dark and, I had to play music. So, cause I'm like, is anybody there? Like type stuff, but yeah. And I had did like an accelerated program where I graduated in 14 months. So it was one of them things where I knew I wanted to at least have that master's. Yeah. And then I just figured one day if I, do a commencement speech, then I get my honorary doctorate. I was going back.
You could be like, I did go to school, y'all. And I got this. This was the added bonus.
Yeah, added bonus. But I'm done.
Oh my goodness. So doing and pledging, right, a fraternity or sorority, I know for a lot of people is, it takes up majority of your time. But would you say, what are some of the benefits, right, of being in those organizations that have, propelled your life?
Yeah, definitely being an alpha definitely has propelled my life because a lot of people in the industry are alphas. Like I said, when you look at Will Packer and Rob Hardy, that was kind of like my connection with Rob Hardy is because, he crossed down in Florida and, I crossed at Clark. So that was like the initial conversation that kind of gets you in the door. But yeah, even the first AD at Tyler Perry Studios was an alpha. And when I came in as a office PA, he used to kind of haze me. That was back in 2013. And now...
Anti-hazing, no hazing.
He'd try to make me like, I need my copies, and I'm like, okay. But every PA was going through that. Like to me, that was just a normal PA, work, And so now in November, the same person who did that was now directing the episode that I wrote. So it kind of came full circle for me,
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my goodness. I mean, from intern to flying to Cali, to working on award shows, to coming back to now doing Tyler Perry Studios coordination, to now doing your own films where you're doing the coordination completely for them and writing and producing. I mean, what was the hugest, I don't even want to say hugest, like highlight peak moment, because that might put a little pressure on you. You might have to stay yourself, which is perfectly fine. But let's talk about the opposite side. What was a moment where maybe you questioned yourself, or you just was, unsure? Like you're like, oh my God, this was the worst coordination that I've done.
The worst.
How did you bounce back? And maybe not the worst coordination, but you know what your best looks like, and you just felt like, oh my goodness, I don't know.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, when you first start, you kind of like getting your footing. You have to kind of make mistakes to kind of figure out, okay, this is what worked. I'm not gonna do this again. And I think you just have to like kind of create your own path, because it's not one path for coordination. Like you have to know like what's your style, how you talk to department heads. And I think the most important thing with a job like that is communication between everyone, because you're, as like a coordinator or like a manager, you're kind of like the hub of the production. You're the heartbeat of the production. Like everything that's distro comes from the production office. Everything that's communicate, scripts, meetings, one-liners, all that comes from the production office. So if that's not right or if that's not intact, then that slows every other department down. And I think just learning that is kind of necessary to become even great. But with jobs like that, it just gets better with time, because it becomes repetition.
Yeah.
Once you, like your first show that you do is gonna be different from your 10th show you did, because it's gonna be like clockwork. Okay, I need this amount of prep days, this amount of rep days. I know I need this amount of people on the team to do this. And then you can start like rapping as you go. Like it's just different things you kind of learn, like why you're doing it, that you really can't teach if you hadn't done it. Versus like when you go to school, they try to teach you out of a textbook. But it's like, if you're not doing it, in today's society, then it's not gonna work. Even if you've done it 20 years ago, like the scope of film and TV is like constantly changing. And so forms are changing, contracts are changing, so you always have to make sure you're updated with all type of things, like legal agreements, and union agreements.
Is that one of the bigger things that you're looking to learn or stay abreast with? Is it, would you say that's contracts, like something that people need to start practicing?
You have to know what you're signing, because at first I didn't, when you get your iPhone and you just keep scrolling, hit accept, and you don't know what
download.
And you don't know what you're reading. But a lot of these talent contracts be like 30, 34 pages, and it's a lot of things. It's a lot of things in there that relates to your dressing room, your screen credit, your residuals, your likeness, your photo approvals. And if you don't know what you're reading, then you can kind of like give away some things that you should be fighting for. But some people are just so, I tell people like, don't be so thirsty for opportunity that you get poisoned when you drink it, because stuff like that, it's gonna hurt you in the long run. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So legal background. I mean, do you recommend for someone watching Paths and thinking about being a coordinator to have some of that legal expertise?
I wouldn't say you need legal expertise, but just start reading stuff. Like I would start reading things, and I would just ask for clarity. Like, what does this mean? Because a lot of those things, if you're giving people documents to sign, then you need to know what you're giving them too. You need to be able to explain certain things. Of course, you can't explain every legal jargon, but like people need to know, like, okay, this is what I'm signing off on. And you have to know too, because if you have a talent coming in and their dressing room is specific, laid out, like private bathroom, couch, flat screen TV, and they show up for work and you didn't read that contract, and they go to the dressing room and it's nothing like what they agreed to in their contract, then that's an issue for the production office. So you have to be abreast of everything. What type of rental car they get, what type of hotel they staying at, So it's a lot of things you just have to know, and it's just gonna make you better.
Well, I hope we coordinated correctly for this fall, I guess. I hope you got the water, your Kool-Aid, whatever it was that you needed. We hope you got it today.
Gotcha, I did. Thank you.
Awesome. Before you leave us today, we like to give quotables or just taglines, tweetable content. What would you say is the quotable for someone watching Paths right now?
I always tell people, don't have the mentality of a horse tied to a plastic chair. It's like you feel like you can go, but if you move, the chair will come with you. You know, the horse doesn't move because he's so used to the chair being like stagnant, but a plastic chair will move and go with you. So that's what I would say.
You've been dropping metaphors all day.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He's just writing it. Just write it down, y'all. Write it down. Credit to Pass. Credit to Pass. No, this was amazing. Truly, truly amazing. I mean, it sounds like you've done everything. And so everyone watching will be able to learn everything that you've done, from going to the CAU and being a part of the AUC, Virginia to California to Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? The different roles that you played. What is your self-care? I know I said last question, but I'm just curious, like, what's your break? What does that look like?
My break is I listen to music. I try to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Sometimes I go get a massage.
D&D?
Yep,
you can do D&D?
Yep.
I'm 27, I still can't do D&D.
I do D&D at least for an hour a day.
Okay.
Because a lot of times when people feel like they have too much access to you, then it's like the wants, like the finish line keeps changing. Like it keeps going and going. Like then people don't respect boundaries. So if you respond to emails at 9:30 at night, then people gonna start emailing you at 10. and then it's just gonna keep going and going until the point where it's like, okay, I know he ain't gonna respond, so let me just wait. But that's just how people are. You have to learn how to set boundaries, you know, with yourself, because you have to have a work and life balance.
Yeah.
You have family, you have friends, you have life events. You can't just put everybody on hold, you know, to make a TV show all the time. So.
Dang.
Yeah.
What's one call you saw while on D&D and you was like, I gotta take this? Not one? What's one? What's one person that could call you right now, your phone on D&D, you see it, and you're like, I gotta.
Okay, yeah, okay. Probably the president. Okay. But we so cool that I always pick up her phone though, cause like I have her back. So like, yeah.
Yeah.
And I know if she called, cause she likes to text. So if she's calling for something, it's gonna be urgent. Yeah.
Good. And do you have a name in mind? You don't have to share it. Of one person who you know will answer and respond to your call?
Yeah, I do. I know a few people. Everyone responds to my calls. It's funny. It's funny because they know I only call if it's like something urgent.
Yeah.
You know, most times it's an email or, you know, follow up, but yeah.
Awesome. This is beautiful. Again, welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Paths Show. We are so excited to have Leno Bradby on the show. I had to make sure I got that right. You feel me? We're so excited to have you on the show and to have had you on the show. This was truly an experience.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, it was great. I had to lead it in. It was great. So we cannot wait to see you tune in for next week's episode. And thank you so much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Awesome.